Sir, I'll go straight to the point. How can we maximize this new law so we can improve public service in transportation?
We really do need to improve our transport infrastructure. But our view is we're going one step forward, two step backwards by giving it so much to foreign capital. The only way we can get actually long-term benefits from having our own transport sector, whether it's shipping, rail, or airlines, is if we have genuine Filipino capacity. If we don't, if we have foreign firms coming in, they'll be making money from selling to the local market. Any productivity gains will go to them. Any use of domestic labor and resources will actually go to them. So we're of the view that we do need to develop that capacity. But if we don't develop in a way that the long-term view is to develop Philippine capacity, we're actually tying our hands to foreign capital. And I think we really look at what's happening in Russia and the Ukraine right now. I think it's very illustrative. If you have, for whatever reason, other governments wanting to embargo something to the Philippines, I mean, the worst thing we can have right now is, 5, 10, 20 years down the line, some sort of China-US friction. And then if you have a Chinese or US firm actually entrenched in our own domestic strategic sectors, we might actually be subject to very malign foreign activities. I think it's very short-sighted to think that it's okay to get foreign investment in. We should take the long view.
Right. But sir, these foreign ownership or investments in transportation are expected to lift the economy even just short term and give jobs to our kababayan. So let's talk about the law even more. What sectors do you think these foreigners can contribute to the most in terms of transportation?
I think very much so. Shipping, airlines, and railways. Also, of course, telecommunications. Foreign capital can contribute. But our point is, we shouldn't take as a metric of success the fact that they're in the country and that we can brag about so many $100 million of investment.
Right.
The real metric of success is in 5 years or in 10 years, are we building Filipino capacity in these sectors? And we keep on coming back to the experience with Intel that's been here for 35 years, Hanjin here for almost a dozen years, even Malampaya for over 20 years right now. We don't have a Philippine electronics industry, a Filipino shipping industry, or a Filipino natural gas industry. So I think capital is there, but there should be some regulation to make sure that we get mutual benefit from that.
Sir, so aside from that, what would you say is the short-term solution then, if not this?
I think right now we don't agree that giving 100% to foreign capital is the way to go. What we will have is what, for instance, has been happening in the oil sector right now. If you turn key sectors over to big business, without the government having the capacity to regulate that, we will be abused. And I think abuses in the oil sector right now, of course, we still have Petron, but it's being run like a business as it is. So I think we can invite them into these sectors. But the equity limit is quite important because it's the most economical way to get leverage, to get some long-term benefits for the country. If we forego the equity element and allow 100% foreign ownership, no foreign investor now will have an interest in negotiating with us because they can have 100% foreign ownership.
Sir, how does this compare, or how does our country compare with Southeast Asian neighbors in terms of foreign ownership in transportation?
Actually, that's a good example. If you look at, for instance, Singapore and Hong Kong is in Southeast Asia, they developed their railways starting out with strong public investment. And when they liberalized or privatized it, they actually already had strong state-owned firms in these key sectors. I think that's so important. It's very hard to regulate what an industry you don't know about. And if the Philippine government early on gives this to foreigners, we lose on 2 counts. The government does not know what's happening in that industry. Secondly, we don't even have Filipino businesses knowing what's happening in that industry. And we'll be beholden to foreign capital here right now. And I think that's a key example because not in Southeast Asia, but the US and China, they still restrict foreigners in shipping and airlines, in water transport, in airports. And these are economic superpowers. If they think it's important for them to restrict foreigners in these strategic transport utilities, it seeds odd that the Philippines thinks that, okay, they're doing something wrong, we can do it better by giving it completely to foreigners.
Sir, let's talk about traffic. In 2018, a study by Japan International Cooperation Agency stated that the Philippines is projected to lose 5.4 billion pesos to traffic daily by 2035. That's if no interventions are made in Metro Manila. So what do you think are feasible solutions to solve the traffic problem to prevent this worst-case scenario from happening?
Okay. I think there's no choice. We really have to develop our light rail transport, but we have to make it cheap. I think bottom line is the government. Transport is expensive. The government has to subsidize it so that traffic isn't eased at the expense of commuters. If you're worried about how bad traffic is from jeepneys and buses, it's because the only ones willing to actually operate at the low fares being given. So we don't want higher fares to make those transport services inaccessible. But if you had government subsidies and especially government investment in these transport sectors, it can be run in the interest of the larger economy, not in terms of short-term profitability. And I think there is no excuse for government not to step into the mass transport system in Metro Manila.
Okay, Ibon Foundation Executive Director Sonny Africa, thank you for joining us.